The 2023 season of IMSA is now complete, and what a final race it was at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. So many exciting things happened during this event, and I'm here to recap the action for one last time this season. So this is my race analysis on the 2023 Motul Petit Le Mans. This event, which took place on October 14th, is IMSA's third biggest endurance race, lasting a duration of 10 hours. Championships were still up for grabs, especially in the LMP2 and GTP field. Like all of these reviews, let's begin with the start. Louis Delatraz put in an incredible lap time in qualifying and started on pole position for Wayne Taylor Racing, but he did not lead the field into turn 1. It was Sébastien Bourdais who went round the outside of the Acura and took the lead for Chip Ganassi Racing. It was actually a very clean start to the race across the prototype grid and the GT grid. We received our first caution of the day within the first few minutes of the event, when the number 8 Tower Motorsports entry spun off and crashed in the S's. It was a big shunt for Ari Balo, the driver racing the car at the time, but thankfully Tower Motorsports were able to retrieve the car and get it back out on track. One of the greatest battles that happened across the entire event in 2023 was the battle in GTD and GTD Pro, when multiple cars were in a race to try and get to first. Ian James, who was driving the number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin, was holding off the entire GT pack, but there were a lot of cars trying to overtake him for first. But one driver specifically that was doing really well was Dorian Pin. The French racer stormed her way to the front in her Iron Dames Lamborghini entry, and after she claimed first ahead of Ian James in the number 27 Aston Martin, she continued to grow the gap on the rest of the GT field. And I think that performance early on in the race certainly showed how good of a driver she truly is. As the race progressed, a massive multi-car crash happened at the end of the back straight, involving more than 4 cars, one of which was the title-contending number 6 Porsche Penske GTP entry. Thankfully, the number 6 entry was not out of the race, but it did take a while for Porsche to retrieve the car and then of course get it back out on track. It's unfortunate that this happened, and it's a shame that the number 6 Porsche and the number 70 Inception McLaren got the worst of the incident. They were completely innocent here, not a part of the trigger at all. The crash actually began between contact with an LMP2 entry and the 023 Triazzi Ferrari. From the cockpit of the number 6 Porsche, you could visibly see Nick Tandy's frustration, and it's understandable considering that he wasn't allowed to drive the car back to the pit lane, and this whole situation would have championship implications on the number 6 Porsche Penske crew. After this multi-car crash was cleared up, there was a smaller incident between the MSR Acura and the Paul Miller Racing BMW. The GTD entry hit the back of the Acura, but then they made contact again, sending Paul Miller Racing's car into the wall. This collision with the wall was definitely not good for Paul Miller Racing, and unfortunately, their day got worse as they had to retire their M4 GT3 BMW later in the race. But on the side of Meyer-Shank Racing, thankfully the pit lane was just after this incident, so the good news was the number 60 Acura would head into the pit lane for repairs, instead of losing time going around another lap. Later on, a strange incident happened in the pit lane, involving 2 of the GTP title contenders. Alexander Sims, who was driving the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac, ran the red light at the exit of the pits, and Sheldon van der Linde in the number 25 BMW hit the back of him. Both cars received a penalty for running the red, and this severely hurt their chances of taking this title. So things went in the way of Wayne Taylor Racing and the number 10 Acura. But of course, there were still many hours to go in this 10-hour endurance race. So after all this happened, the caution went away from that turn 11 incident, and Matt Campbell in the number 7 Porsche Penske took the lead from Sébastien Bourdais in the 01 Cadillac. Let's switch gears to GTD Pro, as something bad happened to Vasser Sullivan Lexus. Ben Barnico had a little mistake at the top of the hill and sent his number 14 Lexus onto the grass. The bumpy surface eliminated the front end of the car, and unfortunately, this resulted in Wassersalve and Lexus having to retire the entry. This, of course, was not a good result for the team, as they wanted to finish the season off with another incredibly successful result. But despite this, they were still happy over what they achieved earlier on, because that same number 14 car achieved the GTD Pro Championship in 2023, with Barnico, Hawksworth, and Kirkwood driving that car to multiple good results throughout the season. Later on, more bad news came in GTD Pro, as the race-leading Corvette number 3 entry pulled off to the side of the track with an engine issue. There was nothing the driver could do to restart the car and get it back into the race. Not only was the car's retirement unfortunate because they were leading the race and likely would have won it, but also this was the last event in the IMSA Championship where Corvette racing would be present. As for the future, Corvette entries will be run by customer teams. After the leading Corvette's retirement, Risi Competizione would take over the lead in their Ferrari, but they would definitely have competition, especially from Iron Lynx Lamborghini and WeatherTech Racing Mercedes. The battle for that position was far from over. So as we headed into the night, it was still unclear who would take this championship in GTP. Wayne Taylor Racing was leading this race, but the Cadillacs were hunting that Acura down. Jack Aiken in the 31 Cadillac, of course, wanted to get to the front for the sake of the championship, but that 01 Cadillac was also running strong and wanted to win this race. The Chip Ganassi Cadillac was performing at a high level, and it's not just about the car itself, it's also about their driver lineup. It's one of the best on the IMSA grid. The fact was that 01 Cadillac had incredibly strong pace and was chasing their second win this season, their first coming of course at Laguna Seca. Now, I mentioned earlier that there was a championship on the line in LMP2, and this was thrown wide open when two significant things happened in the end stage of this event. The first thing that happened was when the championship contending number 11 TDS Racing entry crashed off. This made them retire from the event, meaning only two teams were left: CrowdStrike Racing by APR and PR1 Matheson Motorsports. The number 52 PR1 Matheson entry had the best chance of winning this championship, but then there was a spin from Alex Quinn, and the 52 car lost some positions. Meanwhile, the 04 CrowdStrike entry moved to the front of the field. With the 04 leading, it was now down to PR1 Matheson Motorsports to stay in a position to get enough points to win the championship. Besides the multi-car crash, the most dramatic point of this entire event was when that big incident happened in GTP between the number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac and the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura. Basically what happened was Philippe Albuquerque, the driver of the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura, got a good run on Pipo Derani in the number 31 Cadillac. Albuquerque went for a move on the outside line of turn 1. However, there ended up being no space for Albuquerque to complete the move, and ultimately it was the Cadillac that pushed the Acura wide, sending it straight into a heavy impact with the wall. No matter who was at fault here, the fact was this had championship implications. The Action Express Cadillac continued, but for Wayne Taylor Racing, their car was done. This was definitely unfortunate, as we wanted to see these two cars fight until the final minute of this event, but that's not what happened. And for Wayne Taylor Racing to finish their title contending season like this was just devastating. And on top of that, the fact was that Wayne Taylor Racing now had 4 years in a row where they finished runner-up in the top category of IMSA. For more details on this incident, I do a full breakdown of it. I'll put a link to the video I made in the top right corner and at the end of this video. The number 31 Action Express Cadillac did not receive a penalty, thus giving them a very good chance of taking this championship. Their only competition came from BMW. The number 25 M Hybrid V8 was still in contention for this championship when the safety car ended. Ranga van de Zande led the field away in the 01 Chip Ganassi Cadillac, but it was Colin Braun that got the better start. He made the move into turn 1 and took the lead for Meyershank Racing. So while the MSR Acura led over the 01 Cadillac and 59 Proton Porsche, an incident happened in LMP3. between the number 30 entry and number 74 entry. The 74 Riley had already won the championship in LMP3, but they were also looking to win this race as well. With minutes remaining, the 30 and the 74 made contact at turn 10. This ultimately gave Felipe Fraga's car damage, and the number 74 entry headed into the pit lane for repairs. The racing action was effectively paused because of a fire. Yes, you heard me correctly, the number 16 Wright Motorsports Porsche caught fire on the back of the car. Thankfully, the driver was okay, and he actually became the firefighter as well, putting out the flames with a fire extinguisher. Because of the Porsche on fire, this ultimately meant that the race would finish under safety car. And even though Connor De Filippi in the number 25 BMW tried his absolute hardest to gain positions to get BMW that championship, it still was not enough. Action Express Racing was able to take the GTP Championship in 2023. And to the surprise of many, considering that the 01 Cadillac was looking very strong for the win, the race winners ended up being Meyer Shank Racing. It was quite the race victory for MSR as well. Not only did they win a prestigious event such as Petit Le Mans, but also it was their final race in the IMSA GTP class before they temporarily leave IMSA. Chip Ganassi Racing finished in second, giving Cadillac one final podium in 2023. But a big story was that Proton Competition finished third in GTP. Harry Tinknell, Jimmy Bruni, and Neil Yanni took the number 59 Proton Porsche 963 to the overall podium in IMSA. It was quite the accomplishment, the first ever Porsche Customer 963 to be on the podium as well. In LMP2, it was the 04 CrowdStrike team that took the victory in that class, a commanding win for that team. In LMP3's final appearance in the WeatherTech Championship, Garrett Grist came across the line for Junior 3 Motorsports to take the victory in the number 30 entry. GTD Pro saw WeatherTech Racing take the victory. The number 79 Mercedes beat the Ferraris and Lamborghinis to take its fourth win during the season. And finally, GTD concluded with Forte Racing taking the victory with the number 78 Lamborghini. As for the championship standings in GTP, the Whelen Engineering Cadillac took the championship, with the two Acuras second and third in the overall standings. That final victory for MSR pushed them into the top three in the championship, ahead of the two Porsches and the BMW. It really has been a roller coaster season for MSR, going from winning the Rolex 24 to rounding off a difficult season with another win. PR1 Matheson Motorsports was able to achieve a well-deserved championship victory. The 04 CrowdStrike finished runner-up in the championship with the number 11 TDS Racing car in third position. In LMP3, Riley Motorsports takes the championship, their Ligier JSP 320 taking a successful 4 wins during the season. Meanwhile, the number 30 Junior 3 Motorsports takes second, with the number 13 AWA entry in third. Of course, we already know the champion in both the GT classes. The number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus is the champion in GTD Pro, and after a win here at Petit Le Mans, the number 79 WeatherTech Racing Mercedes is elevated to second. The number 3 C8R Corvette rounds off the top 3 in the standings. And finally, GTD. Paul Miller Racing are champions in that class. Their M4 GT3 probably had the most dominant season across the 2023 championship. 5 separate wins and 2 more podiums to add to that tally. Heart of Racing's number 27 Aston Martin finishes in second, with the number 12 Vassar Sullivan Lexus in third. So that concludes my race review on Motul Petit Le Mans in 2023. What a race, and what a season as well. IMSA has produced something truly remarkable that we will put into the history books. All I can say now is bring on 2024. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in endurance racing and you're not subscribed yet, I highly suggest you do so. I make content on WEC and IMSA every single week. And speaking of content, here are some videos you can watch right now. So thanks for watching, I'll see you all in the next video.